What's up, XDefiant fans? It is Preach as always. Today is going to be a more specific video for those of you who like to play with snipers or who are wanting to know the best way to snipe to help you level up the gun faster if you're going for all-out weapon mastery. Some of these tips will also greatly benefit you no matter what weapon class you use, so you may consider sticking around even if you have no intention of sniping in XDefiant. I'm going to go over some tips and tricks that will benefit you, and of course, I will let you know the best loadout for the sniper rifles that we currently have in the game. I will also be doing similar videos on the other weapon classes in the game over the coming weeks, so stay tuned for those as well. Before we jump into all of these tips, you guys already know what to do. If you like this video, smash that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new here, and turn those bell notifications on if you want to know every time I post a new video. Now let's go ahead and talk about the most important mechanic when it comes to sniping in any first-person shooter. And honestly, if you will apply this to your gameplay on any gun, it will win a lot more gunfights for you. And that is centering. Centering is where you place the dead center of your screen on the place you intend to aim before you pull your ADS trigger or hold in your right mouse button. But you don't want to just do this once you see a player. You want to be doing this constantly throughout the match. This is easy in XDefiant because we have a little white dot on the center of the screen showing us exactly where the center point is. I will try to show you some examples on screen, but you want to place that dot where you anticipate the enemy coming from as you move about the map. If you believe that an enemy will be coming through a certain doorway, don't just keep your eyes on it, but center that doorway with the dot on your screen as you move. What this kind of centering does is allows you to already be on or nearly on target when the enemy appears, leaving you with very minimal adjustments to be made once they do. Then when the enemy shows up, you can adjust your centering as needed before aiming in, and then you can just aim and shoot, and you will usually get the kill before they have time to do much about it. The ability to center before shooting will also allow you to have a much better chance against multiple enemies because you can adjust from target to target much faster out of scope than you can in scope. Not every kill will be perfectly centered. In fact, most will not. But the less adjustments you have to make in scope, the faster you will be. And when you're out of scope, you also have a much better view of what is going on the map to be aware of other enemies besides the one that you're currently shooting at. Now, centering leads directly into almost all of my other aiming tips because all of them require you knowing where your aim is before you press your aiming input button. The next key piece of aiming advice, especially with a sniper, is to lead your aim. Now, before you say, don't you mean lead your shot? There is a difference. In XDefiant, it is not really necessary to lead your shot. I'm not sure if the bullets are hit scan or projectiles, but the velocity is fast enough regardless that leading the shot ahead isn't necessary. However, leading your aim is very necessary due to ADS times and our own physical movements we are making with a controller or mouse taking up valuable milliseconds. When an enemy player is moving, you want to center ahead of their movements and then scope in. That way, they are running into your crosshairs instead of away from your crosshairs. You'll be amazed at what learning to do this will do to improve your accuracy and your quickness. Leading your aim keeps you from having to drag to a moving player from behind. If you can learn to center really well and learn to lead your aim, you will not have to crank your sensitivity to ridiculously high levels because you aren't drag scoping nearly as much, which will help you if you switch between snipers and regular weapons like I do. Speaking of drag scoping, this is an important skill to master because no matter how well you center, random player movements and other factors will ensure that you face a lot of gunfights where you won't be able to have a perfectly centered quick scope every time. The biggest tip I can give you with drag scoping is sensitivity related. You don't want to over drag or under drag, so set your sensitivity to a point where you don't feel like you can never catch up, but you also aren't overshooting your target every time you drag. Personally, I like to have it a touch on the fast side and squeeze my trigger just as my aim is getting to the player. With built-in human input latency from our own bodies, this will usually result in a shot in the middle of the target and not on the edge where I started to squeeze. The final big tip I want to give you today before we get into the loadouts is movement and awareness based, and that is this: utilize cover. Now, When I say this, I don't mean camp in a corner or behind a wall, but utilize cover between your shots. Especially with the TAC 50, the bolt action takes some time to chamber another round after you have taken a shot. A good way to take out multiple enemies without dying while using a single shot weapon is to take your shot, step behind the nearest cover as your bolt rechambers, and then step back out to take your next shot. You may even consider messing with the timing of this and not instantly popping back out as to catch them off guard. You can play with your angles, pretend to wrap around the barrier and then double back, things of that nature, trying to get a shot onto your opponent without them being able to get shots onto you. One big tip I like to use with all guns when coming out of cover is to narrow peek it on the first shot and then wide peek it on the second shot, throwing off where they anticipate you coming from. This is especially helpful against other snipers who may be hard scoping the edge of your cover, waiting for you to slow peek. When you jump out wide from the cover, you can camera them and you make them have to readjust. If your centering is good, this gives you a good chance to win a fight where you may have been in a positional disadvantage. It is also important to keep in mind which sniper you are using. With the TAC 50, you are going to get a ton of one-shot kills, but it isn't going to be as mobile and fast. With the M44, you're going to feel like a speed demon, but you have the potential for more hit markers. So choose accordingly to the map and the playstyle for which one that you want to use. So now let's get into the best attachments to use on these snipers. For the TAC 50, I recommend the quick draw grip as an absolute must. This speeds up your aim down sight time, getting you in scope faster. The rapid fire barrel significantly speeding up your fire rate allows you to take the second shot much faster than without it. The variable zoom scope, because the sniper scope is very zoomed in and makes up close fights incredibly difficult, and the variable zoom has a smaller aim down sight penalty than both of the other scope options. The muzzle booster is another must for aim down sight speed as well. The quick mag for 15% faster reload, and if you must use a stock but you don't get a fifth attachment, the padded stock is the only one I could recommend, but I would not choose it over any other attachment that I put in this list. For the M44, I recommend the quick draw grip as well as an absolute must, but the heavy barrel for 5% better weapon damage, giving you less hit markers because this gun is fast enough that you don't need a barrel to speed you up. The muzzle booster again, and the variable zoom scope again, and this time we are using the padded stock because we don't need to use any kind of magazine attachment on this. They aren't even available because of the way this gun loads one bullet at a time. Hopefully this video has helped you out, and if you aren't a sniper, your weapon class tips are coming soon. If you enjoyed this video or it helped you in any way, you already know what to do. Smash that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new here, and turn those bell notifications on if you want to know every time I post a new video, and I will catch you in the next one. Preach out.